Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering Bud Light. Bud Light has a new major disaster on their hands. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has lost millions of dollars in their state pension fund and is accusing Bud Light of fraud. And he did it on live TV. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you. I'm trying to get to 30,000 subscribers, so if you can subscribe, please do subscribe. This is what DeSantis is accusing the executives and the board of directors of Anheuser-Busch of: a breach of fiduciary duty. Directors have fiduciary duties of loyalty and care to the company and its stockholders. You must put the interests of the company and its stockholders over your own personal interests in making decisions for the company and evaluating opportunities. It's pretty clear the management of Anheuser-Busch, owner of Bud Light, did not do this. Violating a fiduciary duty, breaching it, not doing it, taking advantage of your situation, abusing power, can get people in a lot of trouble. Unlike in the situation with Florida, prosecutors do not normally have the resources to pursue criminal charges against fiduciaries who breach their duties and allow the civil courts to resolve the issues. This is why this is actually really serious. I'm not saying that Brendan Whitworth, who clearly knew what was going on and did not stop it when things got out of control at Bud Light, is going to go to jail. It's very rare to see any executives go to jail for anything. However, this could be a very damaging lawsuit for the woke agenda being pushed through corporations. If DeSantis decides to be aggressive with this and push it forward, it could stop almost all public companies from pushing woke agendas. Woke media do not like the idea of Ron DeSantis stopping companies from pushing their agenda at the expense of stockholders and customers. Here's a number of articles. People magazine: Ron DeSantis goes after Bud Light in latest culture wars attack as he slips in 2024 polls. From Washington Post: DeSantis postures on Bud Light, wielding heavy hand of government again. Experts say that the effort doesn't appear to be serious, but it says a lot about the GOP. I differ with this guy. The effort is very serious. There are several experts that always come out to support the woke agenda and saying, hey, it's just good business. But when it becomes obviously not good business, such as the destruction of the stock at Anheuser-Busch, which doesn't just affect Anheuser-Busch, it affects the people that hold the stock for Anheuser-Busch, which is millions of people. It's in pension funds all across the country. But they can always find, quote, experts that say, oh, pushing this woke agenda is always worth it financially and socially. Well, no, it's not. Rolling Stone: DeSantis wants to sue Bud Light's parent company over effects of a boycott he promoted. The Florida governor has called on the state's pension fund manager to explore legal action against Bud Light's parent company. From Above the Law: Ron DeSantis considers suing Bud Light over anti-gay boycotts because why not? They were not anti-gay boycotts. They were anti-woke agenda being pushed at the expense of consumers and stockholder boycotts. But it's true that Bud Light sales are non-existent in some states. It's not off by some 30 or 31%. In North Carolina, it's off anywhere from 70 to 90%. And in other places, it's that bad as well. We just don't have all the numbers because they're not all publicly available yet, but we will get them. Coming from Newsweek: Ron DeSantis accused of wasting retirees' money on a Bud Light lawsuit. Now, just this whole premise of, well, maybe he is wasting money. They only have about $50 million worth of Anheuser-Busch stock in Florida's pension account. They may have only lost about $8 or $10 million. Why would you spend $1 million or $2 million on a lawsuit, maybe even $5 million on a lawsuit, if you only lost about $8 to $10 million? And by the way, you haven't even lost the money yet if you haven't sold out the stock. It's just a paper loss, not a real loss. Well, the answer is because it will absolutely break the back of these woke companies. If they get sued in open court for this ridiculous woke agenda garbage that companies know damn well damages business, damages customer relationships, but they're doing it just to kill beloved American brands and normalize absolutely bizarre things that really have no place in American culture, these companies will cut back. They will stop if someone stands up and does this. The other issue is, sure, this is just $50 million worth of stock in Florida's $180 billion pension fund. So it's a small amount relatively considering the total amount. But what about other companies that'll go woke tomorrow? What if McDonald's goes woke tomorrow? Or the next big company goes woke tomorrow? That'll affect other investments. No matter what it costs to push an aggressive lawsuit and hold these companies accountable for this anti-investor, anti-human, anti-American sick woke agenda, it's a fantastic investment and it will get paid off many, many times over. From Newsweek, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is receiving criticism for focusing on a new investigation into Bud Light's business and marketing practices for claimed negative effects on the state's retirees' pension funds, as the effect is small in the grand scheme. But that's where it's not, and we just explained that. DeSantis, who in May announced his candidacy to be the Republican Party's 2024 presidential nominee, has regularly criticized what he calls woke ideologies while in office and on the campaign trail. Critics have lambasted him for perceived anti-LGBT policies, book bans teaching a different side of Black history, and for his Don't Say Gay bill that had sparked a legal battle with Disney. That Don't Say Gay bill, of course, was a bill to protect children in kindergarten through third grade from being indoctrinated with gender identity programming. Something that the people of Florida wanted, the legislature wanted, and the governor wanted, so it was passed as an actual law. Bud Light's partnership with transgender activist Dylan Mulvaney in the spring led to the company's market value taking a drastic drop, anywhere from $27 to $32 billion. Criticism against that marketing campaign sparked a wave of similar cases against major companies, including Target, based on the perceived targeting of children in terms of LGBT clothing and advertising. DeSantis said this in a tweet, quote, "We've kneecapped ESG, environmental, social, and governance in Florida," DeSantis tweeted on Friday. "So I'm calling for an investigation into Anheuser-Busch InBev's actions regarding their Bud Light marketing campaign and falling stock prices. All options are on the table, and woke corporations that put ideology ahead of returns should be on notice." Anheuser-Busch InBev, the world's largest brewer, purchased Anheuser-Busch in 2008. A letter accompanying DeSantis' tweet says that Florida's State Board of Administration, their SBA, which oversees pension funds for public employees, currently holds global equity assets with Anheuser-Busch InBev and must address funds for police officers, teachers, firefighters, and first responders, and should stray from radical social ideologies. Quote, "Clearly the board's mismanagement has led to this impasse, as well as its failure to remediate the problem and repair its relationship with millions of disaffected American consumers will continue to financially harm the SBA and other shareholders." DeSantis went on to say that Anheuser-Busch InBev may have breached legal duties, with shareholders vowing that all options are on the table. Okay, now we get to hear from a number of people that they found as, quote, experts to comment that DeSantis has no business going after a woke company pushing a woke agenda, even though it destroys investment values for the shareholders. Joanna Schwartz, marketing professor at Georgia College and State University, told Newsweek that DeSantis' new effort is remarkably misguided, considering Bud Light has advertised to the LGBT consumer base years before Mulvaney entered the picture. Quote, "If his state board administration wasn't aware that the company targeted the LGBT community, then that's seemingly a lack of due diligence on their part rather than a problem with AB InBev's business strategy," Schwartz said. It also begs the question of why the state of Florida would be so heavily invested in a foreign-based alcohol company as to dramatically impact the state's pension portfolio. The one certainty is that AB InBev had a small influencer campaign that went very wrong. The firm wasn't trying to lose market share in value. Well, first of all, Joanna Schwartz is not a finance person. She's not a business person. She's a marketing professor. And the reason she's a marketing professor is probably because she's not a marketing professional. She's absolutely wrong that there was a responsibility for due diligence to understand that Brendan Whitworth and Alyssa Heinerschied were going to completely remake an existing brand and change the identity of the brand from fun, energetic, and what she called fratty to being the kind of brand that would have Dylan Mulvaney's face on the can, promoting it to the transgender community, rebranding the beer so that if you were interested in Dylan Mulvaney and you wanted to jump into a bathtub with Dylan Mulvaney, that this beer would clearly be for you. But of course, you can't be their traditional customer and also be someone who wants to jump into a bathtub with Dylan Mulvaney. It's not actually possible. Joanna Schwartz here makes a great example for why they need inside information. They do need more due diligence. They need to see internal correspondence between Alyssa Heinerschied and between her boss, Daniel Blake, and between Dylan Mulvaney and other people at Anheuser-Busch to understand when did they decide exactly that they were going to abandon their existing customers, and what careful consideration did they make before they made such a major switch in their brands? Additionally, who was responsible for the response when they saw on social media things were going really bad for them really quickly, when their distributors were calling them and saying, hey, people are furious, they're canceling orders? Who took exactly what actions? That's what a lawsuit's going to tell you. In an interview on Thursday evening with Fox News, Jesse Waters, DeSantis claimed that a political agenda by Bud Light at the expense of shareholders is negatively affecting the public workers. Quote, there's got to be penalties for when you put business aside to focus on your social agenda, DeSantis said, reiterating his stance against companies like Disney. Richard Painter is another anti-MAGA, anti-populist Republican player, and here's his comment. Did this man DeSantis go to law school? Tweeted Richard Painter, a lawyer and former White House ethics czar in the George W. Bush administration. Has he ever heard of the business judgment rule? He'll waste states' retirees' money on a bogus suit so he can go on Fox News and run for president? The business judgment rule that Richard Painter brings up is a point. However, when you sue the company and you get the internal correspondence, you'll see if they were making honest business judgment or if they were making a judgment based on pushing an agenda that wasn't good for the company, but would satisfy their ESG ratios and their relationships with big investors like Vanguard and State Street and BlackRock. That's the purpose of a lawsuit. Quote, wouldn't a pension fund hold hundreds of different companies? Asked another Twitter user. Aren't Republicans supposed to be pro-business and anti-government interference? Yes, Republicans are pro-business and anti-government interference. They're concerned now about the world government people who seem to be creating a situation where a progressive agenda is pushed in all Western countries simultaneously. Florida and other investors create diversified portfolios in an effort to optimize returns, Schwartz said. Again, she's talking about investment portfolios. She's a marketing teacher, a marketing professor, not an investment specialist. She shouldn't even be discussing this. She called the targeting of one company, in this instance Anheuser-Busch, nonsensical, considering that stock and bond values constantly fluctuate. If DeSantis and the state of Florida are willing to limit investments in any companies that target the LGBT market, a vast majority of the Fortune 500 firms that drive the U.S. and world economy would also be on the table for potential legal action, she added. Quote, this isn't a serious legal proposal, she said. It seems an obvious attempt by Governor DeSantis to tie his image and that of his presidential campaign to the people who no longer drink Bud Light because of the backlash against the brand. He appears to just be trying to curate an image of using political power to impact corporate values that don't align with his own. Quote, in a political environment where he has had trouble getting traction as a strong conservative brand, this is a way to try to appeal to a core part of that market. Well, at least she's talking about a brand. With respect to Joanna talking about this being a serious legal proposal or not being a serious legal proposal, first of all, it is serious because he's the governor and he already wrote the head of the state pension. Secondly, she ain't no attorney. And if you want to look at her background real quick, she should have told people that she has a partner who is also a woman. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with being LGBT. But she's speaking on the LGBT agenda and trans rights and how that affects what DeSantis is doing. And it would be good to be honest about who you are and how that might affect your commentary. It's not all just professional commentary. From Joanna Schwartz's own website, welcome to my website. I've taught a number of courses here, including consumer behavior, marketing research, social media marketing, principles of marketing, LGBT marketing, and sports marketing. My research is extremely varied and includes such diverse topics as issues related to diversity, equity, and inclusion, LGBT marketing, corporate social responsibility, and consumer behavior. So Joanna, of course, is very supportive of large public companies wasting their resources and destroying their good American brands to support her personal LGBT agenda. She doesn't explain that she teaches these and focuses on these subjects. She doesn't explain that she's personally part of the LGBT community, and you can see why it makes a lot of sense for DeSantis to go forward with legal action. Get the inside documentation. Get a hold of Alyssa Heinerscheid. Interview her. Find out why she was doing what she was doing, who approved what she was doing, what conversations they had about how it might permanently affect the brand or could permanently affect the finances of the business, and what decisions did she make and who did she talk to when they saw the Dylan Mulvaney promotion was going bad. Why didn't they come out immediately and say, hey, we made a mistake. It was just one can and it was never supposed to be shown online. It was just a personal gift to Dylan Mulvaney. Because that's what I think happened. And I've been studying this since the beginning of April, but it hasn't been discussed. That's what a lawsuit's going to tell us. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Do you think DeSantis should go forward with a lawsuit against Anheuser-Busch? Do you think he should get these guys in front of really good lawyers and make them answer very difficult questions and get them on the record and hold them accountable? Or do you think, like Julie Schwartz, you should just spend all your money, all your resources, all your pension, all your savings to promote the LGBT agenda and the trans agenda, no matter what it costs the companies? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Really appreciate you. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.